2.2's banners are looking stacked, so today I aim to help you decide who to spend your precious Astrites on. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. Quick note, this video serves as a quick TLDR way for you to know who'll get you the best bang for your particular account. I'll be making more in-depth pros and cons for each individual character coming up this patch closer to their time. Alright, cool, let's go. So beginning with Cantarella, we have quite a few things to unpack here. The best way to summarize this unit is that she's like a Havoc-flavored Judge. Essentially, she provides a good deal of Havoc percent on outro along with some skill percent. This is naturally going to lend her incredibly well to hyper-carry donjon teams. I specify hyper-donjon, not support donjon. This is because she's going to be excellent for boosting the bloodthirsty Patooty's own numbers, but this won't be better than using the insane sword lady with Havoc Rover on the whole. Either way, it's an excellent way to use your donjon while being able to free up your Rover for other teams, which is a realistic situation to find yourself in, considering that Rover as a unit is only becoming more and more contested. She does coordinated attacks and buff skill percent on outro, which makes her an excellent contender as a second salt teammate for Jinchi. Despite Judge being superior for this role, the issue is that you may run into a situation in which you own both her and the esteemed Montelli lady Carlotta. This is quite the dilemma, since both would greatly enjoy the silly painter's company. However, Carlotta simply takes better advantage of the unit, so you're left with using Yonhu for your Jinjo Magistrate. Now if you have Yinlin, this isn't so much of an issue, as you can pair her with your Jinjo Magistrate and continue to get the job done very effectively. However, if she's taken by Shangli Yao, or simply not on your account, then Cantarella is another excellent alternative option that you can use over Yinlin or Judge. You see, it's actually nicer to use Cantarella as a substitute Jinchi teammate over the likes of Mr. Brandt Wuthering Waves as an example, because even though both of them offer skill percent on outro, the Physalia lady has the advantage of providing coordinated attacks, which allows you to efficiently build up Jinchi stacks. Also, that allows her to be a pretty good substitute in general for any DPS that likes skill damage, even if it's a little cope. For example, using Cantarella with your Carlotta if you don't have access to a Judge. She does personal damage too, and carries additional utilities in healing, so that makes her a good all-rounder character. Granted, healing is next to useless in this game, because if you grind out endgame enough, you'll get to a point where you're very familiar with dodging and efficient gameplay. It'll become a nice bit of quality of life more than anything else down the line, but if you're heavily casual and regularly experience skill issue, then it's not a bad additional aspect to your kit. She can also be used as a second salt teammate for Havoc Rover teams, a character that everybody owns. So if he's not already taken by Phoebe for Spectral Frazzle teams, then you're able to use him for that purpose too. Granted, Roshia will be better for him, but she is the most skipped limited 5-star in all of Wuthering Waves, so many people aren't going to have access to that synergy in the first place. This all means that she's an excellent unit for vigor management, that she offers many unique qualities, and that she's a fairly well-rounded character. However, she's not replacing Sanhua and Camellya teams for sure. Yes, if you really need the Sanhua freed up, then you can force Cantarella into the team, but she was not designed for the crazy lady, as her outro skill doesn't buff basic percent whatsoever. It'll work by virtue of her providing Havoc percent on outro, but you know who else does that? Donjin. Not to mention how that 4-star is an S6 which offers 20% attack to the entire team. Other cheaper substitutes that are arguably more effective than Cantarella already exist for her, so sadly, she's not really going to be great with the best Havoc DPS in the game, which is okay. She'll of course still have teams on launch, but it's an unfortunate fact. Also, while we only have the footage that Kuro showed off for us to work with, it appears as if Cantarella's energy generation is going to be a bit of a black hole. No, not Brandt bad, but his energy problem is more like the entire void. In the Physalia lady's case, she's going to want at least 1 ER percent 3 costs worth of ER in order to be played comfortably. That's a good bit higher than the typical 120% that most second salt teammates want in order to complete their rotations comfortably, so keep that in mind when building her. The biggest glaring flaw of Cantarella at the moment is that she's releasing ahead of her time. I've seen some people say that this is a Judge situation, and I actually disagree, because the silly painter was better on launch, as she was the main premium Jinchi teammate at the time. Jump cancels eventually being discovered also gave her the edge over Yinlin after a certain point. The painter's still a great value before Carlotta, but the Montelli lady did definitely aid her value a lot, don't get me wrong. Point is, I think on-release Cantarella has less value than on-release Judge. She's not gotten her main DPS that she's supposed to be supporting yet. So if you get her now, it's just for hypercarry donjon, or for better vigor management in the TOA, and most donjon mains would unironically prefer a character that makes gameplay more difficult, not a unit that heals during her rotation. Kuro always reruns supports next to the DPS that use them best. Judge came back next to Carlotta, and both Yinlin plus Shangli Yao were ran as a pair, not to mention the recent Brandt and Shangli banners. There is quite frankly zero rush to pull her ahead of time, unless you just really like the unit. I will say that it's not like she's releasing with absolutely zero reason to exist, as Kuro doesn't launch limited 5-stars without having any purpose on launch. Phoebe has a DPS mode which is very strong, with her support mode being more of a future thing. Jojo was mostly used as the premier Jinchi teammate on her launch. You get the idea. Cantarella has donjon and being a Jinchi substitute. But I'd say that for the value rankings of this patch, B tier is fair. She's not C, because you'll still get good use out of her with the use cases that she does have, but because her premier best install synergy hasn't arrived to the game yet, I wouldn't go further than this. Time to discuss everybody's favorite crazy lady Camellya. This insane killing machine has plenty of good qualities to her name. I'm gonna start off with the one that I personally deem to be one of her best. You get amazing bang for your Astrite. She's one of the most versatile characters for your entire account in the whole game. You get really good TOA clears with her, as she's only a cut below the absolute top tier DPSs that this game has to offer in that game mode. She clears every reset very comfortably and you should have no issues there. Then you arrive at Wuthering Waves. She is easily the best unit for this game mode. She suits the multiple enemy waves extremely well, having a mode that's specifically dedicated to dealing with heavily AoE scenarios. That being her red hair mode. And because her damage is quite impressive, she churns through all of these waves very quickly. You're also able to get her core rotation running basically immediately. While Roshia plus Camellya is an insane combo for this game mode, seeing as both are such AoE friendly units, that's really overkill. You do not require both, my guy. If you have Camellya, she herself is enough to make Wuthering Waves look like an absolute joke of a game mode. She's so hard to mess up too, because her gameplay is so simple, meaning that you can't really miss out on much damage when playing her in Wiwa. You're essentially guaranteed to perform well with her in that mode. Even if you simply use Sanhua as her main support, you will steamroll the entire thing with ease. It's not even funny. Considering how that game mode is still quite fresh and people are still learning how to tackle it best, I would say that this makes Camellya a very valuable pull for many players, especially casuals who don't really want to adapt their playstyle to Wiwa's mechanics in particular, because you're able to play Camellya as you normally would and yield all the benefits out of her. Plus, since most accounts have been built with TOA in mind, this crazy lady is an excellent way to round out your account by offering you a character that'll really make your Wiwa experience a whole lot better, while also serving the rest of your game experience. The only endgame where I'd say she's awkward is holograms. Otherwise, she's amazing for all of the modes which regularly reset in this game. I'd say that she's currently one of the most valuable pulls that you can make in the game right now, because of how much of an all-rounder she is. She's super duper easy to use too. Like, you really can't mess up her gameplay. It's legitimately just hold left click, or if you're on mobile, hold the normal attack button. You'd have to actually try to get her gameplay wrong. I'd say this could actually be a flaw for some people, as her gameplay can be simple to the point of being boring, so I'd definitely make sure that you trial her extensively first to form an opinion on her spinning mechanics. She's currently the best Havoc DPS that we have in the game right now. And she's also extremely free-to-play friendly. She's an effective 4-star weapon option in the Soul Noir Anchor, and she's able to utilize Sanhua with excellent efficiency. The bodyguard of Jinzhou's Magistrate is a completely free unit, by the way, keep that in mind. It seriously doesn't take much to get this unit functioning at a strong level. She's an amazingly efficient pull for any account that's at any stage. If you're a beginner looking to see who you should pull as your first 5-star main DPS, then Camellya is 100% a great choice, as you can use her with Sanhua, then stick any typical 3rd slot healer as her final teammate, then let her rip. Baichi and Verena are both freely obtainable as of now. This isn't even mentioning how you can use Donjin in her teams for her outro skill in S6 if you have it, meaning that Sanhua is not a requirement whatsoever. You're still able to reap the benefits of her free-to-play friendliness in such a case, and Donjin's been on numerous banners at this stage, so there's a high chance that you'll have at least one copy of her by now. If you already have plenty of good teams to tackle the TOA, and you're not having any troubles with game modes such as Wuthering Waves, then there's no need for Camellya, but I believe that for a lot of people, she's gonna be the all-rounder that you were searching for. You're also able to use her white hair mode for more boss-centric content, and it actually performs quite well. However, if you don't want to learn it, then don't worry, since her red hair mode is going to be more than enough to take care of most boss-based content. She's aged like fine wine. Camellya was already a complete powerhouse when she first came out, but the fact that this has only continued to be the case, even more so in the modern day, yeah, that's crazy. Perhaps even crazier than the unit herself. Nah, that's a reach. Camellya is certainly a specimen in her own right. In terms of flaws, it can be annoying whenever she gets interrupted during her spinning, or whenever you get knocked out of your nuke. It's definitely not as bad as Brand sometimes missing his freaking anchor, but this is still something irritating that you can run into. This also makes her an absolute menace to play versus the more difficult holograms, because holy guacamole. Have fun trying to deal with Camellya versus something like Sentry Construct. Plus, whenever you enter red hair mode, she's not able to move around freely, which can make her annoying to use versus really movement-heavy bosses such as the Thundering Mephis. Also, stealing Sanhua is a bit rough due to how contested she is. Otherwise, it's honestly difficult to list flaws of her because of how well-rounded she is. Plus, Camellya is one of Sanhua's top users. The only other unit who's above her power level that would want the Magistrate's bodyguard would be Phoebe, a character that's well worth your time. She fleshes out your roster excellently, and I really only have good things to say about her. S tier in the value rankings for this patch. If you pull for her, you'll definitely feel her presence on your account because of how versatile she is across game modes. You'd think that the Glaze couldn't get any stronger after that Camellya Yap session, but you'd be wrong. Yes, the Glaze Fest isn't over yet, because we're yet to have reached the true cream of the crop, that being Shorekeeper. I'm going to say it bluntly, Shorekeeper is the best character in the entire game. If you do not have a single copy of her, then you should 100% try to get her immediately. You see, even if you're a beginner that doesn't have a single limited 5-star DPS to your name, I'd still chase after Shorekeeper first. You're really gonna thank yourself later down the line for doing so. This character is so omnipotent on literally every account that she finds herself on, due to the sheer prowess of her meta value. Literally the only other unit that dares to even come close to scratching the surface of Shorekeeper's meta value will be Verena, but even then, I would consider the Computer Lady to be far above the Plant Kid in terms of meta value. Obviously, you want to own both either way, but I'm just really trying to emphasize how Shorekeeper is simply a huge cut above the rest of the current cast. For starters, she buffs. And oh boy, does she buff. You get an insane amount of crit rate and damage from her ult field whenever it's golden, which immediately places her as being the strongest buffer in the entirety of Wuthering Waves. No other character comes close, even if they really wanted to. She's able to heal a really high amount, so if you're somebody with a chronic case of skill issue, then Shorekeeper is one of the most casual-friendly characters known to man. I 100% recommend her if you're the type of person who's looking for a unit that'll allow you to play a little more sloppily. She's also able to do some personal damage with her intro skill. Essentially, once her ult field is golden, if you intro back into Shorekeeper at the end of your team's full rotation, she does a Spectral Blast which crits 100% of the time. This isn't some massively game-changing amount of damage, but it's certainly more contribution than you'd expect coming from a healer. You can choose to ignore that aspect of her kit entirely, but it's a lovely bonus if you're interested. She works in every team in the game. I can't name a single team in which Shorekeeper is not best in slot. She will always be the most ideal option 100% of the time. And because this unit's buffs are so good, she's a really good third slot teammate to use up against DPS check bosses such as TOA's middle tower. She's gonna speed up your clears by a really noticeable amount. Her S2 is also one of the greatest forms of high Astrite based investment that this game has to offer. It expands her buffing profile in a very meaningful way, and because all of this game's current DPS roster appreciates attack percent, it's a very strong S2 that has absurd universality. Speaking of which, that's another thing. S0 Shorekeeper is very future-proof, because crit buffs are extremely universal. Unless they pivot to a meta in which critting isn't that important, which just isn't happening anytime in the near future, these buffs will always remain as being relevant. Even if you have another form of sustenance in your team, you still want to use Shorekeeper. She is a busted buffer through and through. Her heavy attack when she has her Forte bar fully charged up offers some minor grouping as well. It's not really a super significant part of her kit, but it's a nice little bonus that Kuro threw in there. In terms of flaws, well, she does take up quite a bit of field time at the start of her rotation, but that really isn't a huge deal. Your clears will still be a whole lot faster on the whole, because the buffs that Shorekeeper provides in exchange for all that field time is 1000% worth it. Also, she wants intro skills to be cast in order to build up the buffs of her ult field. That's more so an annoyance for quickswap teams, where you're not always going to have an intro skill available to cast during the comp's natural rotation, but it's far from a deal breaker, and you'll still end up with a golden field when going through the regular rotation of most comps. It's a bit annoying to have to build up outro on units who have a useless outro at times, but it's very easy to adapt to this particular issue of hers. Her signature weapon is also not the greatest pull on the planet. Well, if you're a lower investment player. Shorekeeper's signature is quite redundant when variation exists. However, if you have signatures and high investment on all of your main DPSs already, then it's actually quite a good pull, because it's one of the next logical steps you're able to take towards min-maxing your account. It's especially nice for, say, speedrunners, or just anyone who's interested in hyper-optimized clears. I should also mention that she is a completely free-to-play friendly option in the Phasalio Falls Rectifier, so if you've absolutely nothing for her, well, Kuro has already went and sorted that out for you, so everybody will be able to build her easily. SS plus tier in the value rankings for this patch. Easily. I understand that the phrase must pull gets on people's nerves, but if there was such a thing as a must pull in this game, then Shorekeeper would absolutely be the picture definition of it. The reruns this time around are certainly not to be missed out on. My personal advice to you, if you don't have a Shorekeeper, skip the first half to pick her up. If you do have her, then Camellya is a more valuable pull than Cantarella at the moment. Pull for the Phasalia lady later on, after she has received her best in slot first slot teammate. Or just pull whichever one you think is best, girl. That works too. Who are you going for this time around? Or is 2.2 a total skip to you? Let me know down below, I'd love to hear your thoughts. As always, I have a ZZZ second channel. Head on over and subscribe if you're interested in some fun, silly ZZZ content. I'd also like to mention that I stream on Twitch. I stream once a week every week on Saturday, starting from 3 PM UK time. Come along so we can play Wuthering Waves, ZZZ, and do some other fun stuff together. Hopefully this video was able to tell you which characters will get you the best bang for your Astrites in version 2.2. This has been Juice, signing out, and man, I'm just gonna be honest. Cantarella has the best character design out of all three. Sorry, my dudes, I don't make the rules.